be blue. I want it to be true. Don't want to be trapped on doing what I should. Don't want to work all day. Always just.
Hey, Waylon, it's so good to see you today.
Great to see you too. You look beautiful.
Oh, thank you. Well, you looking like you're happy out there in Palm Springs with the warm weather.
Yes, I am. It's supposed to be, I think, 80 today.
Oh my
So not
God.
to torture you too much.
Well, just in case you were just wondering in your mind if you made the right decision to move to Palm Springs, it's 1 degree here right now.
Oh,
That's
yeah,
what
I feel pretty good about my decision.
that's the actual temperature. That's not wind chill.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I hope you're staying warm.
Well, I am. I'm in my office right now, and it just makes me happy looking at the back of you there. I see the sun coming through the window.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
I can't wait till I can come out and visit and see the palm trees again.
Yeah, me too. I'll have to do that soon.
Yes. So now we're going to talk about something that I think is just so amazing with Teen Mom Next Chapter. And let's talk a little bit about how it got that name, just for anybody watching the podcast or listening who may not be aware of how that name change happened. So there used to be a Teen Mom OG, which was Teen Mom Original Girls. And then there used to be Teen Mom 2, which were a newer set of girls. And each one of these series followed a certain number of girls and followed their stories. So what they did back in 2022 was they canceled Teen Mom OG and they officially canceled Teen Mom 2. They next decided that they would move forward, combine the two stories, and then bring in the girls that were the most interesting with their stories. Follow them. Anyway, so then they called it Teen Mom Next Chapter. And the next chapter is focusing on the children. What's really interesting is how we've come full circle in this last episode. So in season 2, we're going to talk today about Teen Mom Next Chapter, season 2, episode 17, 18, and 19. And episode 19 happened yesterday on February 20th, 2025. What's really, really interesting, the full circle, is the kids of the original girls are turning 16 this year. We get to see Bentley turning 16 in his happy birthday party, his surprise, beautiful, stunning Jeep pickup truck, an
I
amazing
know.
blue. I don't know what that blue's called, but it's really beautiful.
It's so pretty. Yeah, I'm jealous of that. I want that car.
And
Me too.
then and then Leah, Gary and Amber's daughter, also turned 16, is also driving and also got a beautiful car
Mhm.
from Christine and Gary. And then I wanted to share with you, tomorrow is my Sophia's 16th birthday. Watching these girls and watching these stories is bittersweet for me because there I've watched them grow up. I've sat with them for hours and hours. I've held some of them and played with them with Sophia. And I remember Sophia and Bentley playing cars and blocks with the Wranglers while we were filming and popping in and out and playing with them periodically. I remember poor Leah would sit and scream sometimes for hours because she was just so sad or upset, and trying to comfort her. Just to see her today, she's so beautiful and she's just so level-headed. It's just all of these kids, I'm just really impressed with how beautiful, intelligent, and level-headed they've turned out to be. And
Yeah, I
then
agree. It's what strikes me about it too is that they're kids, like they're still kids. Like when you watch those early episodes of Teen Mom, a lot of, and maybe it's the situation that they're in, but a lot of them just seem like they, grew up so bath. And it may have been like the kind of things that we were exposed to back then too. But it just seems like the kids from Teen Mom, they're still kids at 16. They're not trying to be adults.
And the other thing that is really cool is they don't really go for the limelight. They're
Yeah.
they're very much understated. And then we hear a lot about Carly in this episode, and within these 3 episodes. So today I want to talk about these 3 episodes. We're going to just do the highlights. We're going to give some interesting background stuff. And then you and I are going to talk about our thoughts, and
Mhm.
how we rate these 3 episodes.
Right. Yeah. It's a good opportunity to catch up on TV.
It is. And I just, I think in one way, this is my therapy. I'm just really impressed with a lot of the girls. And I do want to take a minute to say this. I believe everywhere women should support other women. In episode 18, you see a flash of Farrah up on the screen. And it's going back to 2023 when MTV put together a reunion of sorts of the Teen Moms that they had. And this included Teen Mom OG people and Teen Mom 2 people. And they were all together. Farrah was asked to come back. So she came back and she did I'm going to call it a guest appearance. So she did a guest appearance. And everybody was out milling around, having a good time at a party. And so Farrah comes in, as she normally does, late, fashionably late, and makes her entrance. And you could just hear the gasping in the background. You could hear why is she here? So Farrah walks in, and I know my daughter well enough to know that hurt her. You may not have seen it on the Teflon outside. You may have seen the Teflon just all this shit just blowing over, right? But I know on the inside that really hurt her. Instead of being cordial and kind, she was getting very directly confrontational with other people there. Cheyenne was there. Cheyenne and her, I don't know if it's her husband at that time or if they were just a couple at that time, but they were together. So they were there and they were mingling and talking, and then Farrah made a really bad remark about how Cheyenne just got pregnant to be on the show. He said, I didn't appreciate that, and I don't feel that was appropriate. Well, things quickly escalated, as you can imagine, with Farrah.
As they do with Farrah.
And Farrah then said some other thing. So Cheyenne was 29 at the time, and she flipped over this table that they had it had drinks on it. It was covered with a white tablecloth. So it, was trying to be nice. It wasn't like a hoedown or anything. It was a nice,
Yeah.
nice little event.
Turned into a throwdown, though.
It turned into a throwdown. Cheyenne walks up and she explains that was not right. And she flips over the table. She flips the table toward Farrah and screamed, "Let's talk then, bitch. Let's do it." I just felt like when I watched that, like I said, season 2, episode 18, February 13th, that aired. In case anybody wants to go back and watch it. When that happened, I felt so sick in the pit of my stomach. What an inappropriate thing Farrah said to this other mom. We're talking about moms here, young women who've gone through some things that were very hard and struggling. This is where women need to come together and be supportive. But Farrah was competing and just saying, hey, you did this. Well, she has no idea what Cheyenne did, right? She has no clue.
Right. She was just throwing that out there.
They weren't friends. They didn't grow up together. She doesn't know her story, right?
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, that hurt Shy. And, I felt bad about it. I want to officially say, Shy, I am very sorry. I think there's no greater thing in the world than being a mom. I really enjoy Shy's story because her daughter Ryder has a rare genetic condition, and the cardiologist had called Cheyenne back and told her that, they wanted to do some more testing and take a look at some other things. So Shy in this episode was super concerned when her daughter says, "My heart burns for 1 second," knowing that she has a heart issue. That's
issue. Yeah.
so you can imagine having that in the episode along with the flashback of what Farrah said to her. I mean, it was just so like this, so inappropriate, right? And
Well, and that's the thing with TV and things like this that, her daughter can now go back and see that. Troubling for Cheyenne to be like, well, do I have to answer this question because it's not true? But then that's out there. So, it's just destructive. It's not great.
and
It's a terrible thing to say.
it is, and
Yeah.
Cheyenne is a good mom, and she obviously loves Ryder. This is a very rare condition, and it's a health crisis, and she has to take medicine for it. I mean, she could go into a coma, or there's all kinds of things that could potentially happen. It's a really scary situation. I would just prefer to support Cheyenne and to support other moms and commend them for trying to be the best mom they can given difficult circumstances. And being in the public eye is never easy. There's always somebody that's going to have a problem. But I also found it wonderful that Cheyenne reached out to another mother in this episode, this other mother's doing with her trouble. And they kind of buried the hatchet. And I thought that was just a really beautiful moment that they took to be together and to take a minute to care for each other and to basically mend fences.
Yeah, I think that's great. And I think that's one of the good things about the show. I don't know if when you guys were on if that happens so much, but it seems like it's nice that they at the very, at the end of the day, they have each other if they want to reach out to each other and they're going through similar things. When you were on the show, were you able to reach out to or was Farrah able to reach out to the other moms that were on the show? Like if they
I think here's my feeling. I tried to reach out and it was like discouraged. It was like, oh no, we can't really have people mixing here. We need to keep things separated.
Oh, that's funny because they kind of encourage that now, it seems like, or they're, showing it anyway.
I think some people took it as a competitive environment. Like I'm going to get all the attention. Why is that? That's weird.
Well, and at the end of the day, you don't have any control over the edit anyway, so
Oh, we don't, not at all.
yeah.
I just thought it was kind of weird. And I just think women together are stronger and happier and healthier
Hmm.
than if we all act like the Real Housewives. And remember, the children are watching. We need to be good role models. And
And it's around for forever too.
yeah, and I think Ashley in this episode, and I think Cheyenne were role models for that. And I just want to say, well done. I know Ashley's been going through a lot of hard times, but it seems like she's finally coming around and making the determination to ditch the problem and move forward. And so my fingers are crossed for her. I hope she's strong and she does that. The other thing that I find strange is Amber sitting in the house once again, not letting MTV come in to film when she's under contract and she's taken their money and she's supposed to do her job. But she's sitting in there going, go away. I don't feel like filming today. I don't want, by the way, when you come back tomorrow, we can film, but bring a pregnancy test.
Oh,
And I'm like, wait a minute. Wasn't part of the thing that we were supposed to do is show that we've learned from our mistakes of having unprotected sex and that we should be able to control things better and we shouldn't have that problem anymore of, oh my God, am I pregnant? Am I not pregnant? What happened? So anyway, they did bring a pregnancy test and poor Larry Musnick was out there pacing up and down and up and down. And I think Larry has the patience of a saint. He did well. And so did the producer. Amber came on camera finally. I've spent a lot of time with Amber and I really do care for Amber. She's deep down inside, she is a very good woman and human being. And she has made tremendous progress. But I think the cycles that she has to go through really take a toll on her. She had the courage to say that she doesn't want to be a bad mom, but she knows that she makes mistakes. And she was crying about it.
I think Amber's story to me is probably, I don't know why, but I am most drawn to her story just because she reminds me of so many people that I've known, like from my hometown, and so many girls that I grew up with, where they just kind of get stuck in situations and not sure how to get out of them. And didn't she disclose that she was diagnosed with being bipolar at one point?
She's been diagnosed with a couple of different things, bipolar being one of them, yes. And that's a
Yeah, I think it's interesting to see that because it really plays out on the show. I mean, she really, you know, you can tell when she's, having manic issues or, you know, when she's down. It's all there. It's high highs and low lows. And like I said, her story it just reminds me of so many girls that I grew up with. I think a lot of people can probably identify with it too. It's just
yes,
try to do the best that they can, but
trying to self-medicate, yeah.
yeah. So I just think her story is really interesting.
I think the other interesting thing is that she falls in love quickly and fiercely with the wrong people.
Yeah.
And she seems to go for the loser type, the kind that would never give her back what she deserves. And that's kindness and caring and love. And she's always going for like the bad boy image. It's like trying to tame a wild saber-toothed tiger. You're just not going to get far.
Yeah. Well, and it's that can be an addictive pattern too, where you're trying to always fix someone or trying to make them love you or, make them treat you well and to prove to them that you deserve it, all the time. That's an addictive pattern. It can be, it's really destructive.
It is destructive. And I think once she finally figures out that these men that she's put so much time and effort into and trust and all her emotion are not in it with her at the same level and they have bad intentions, that's when she gets explosive and starts doing things that then she turns around and regrets. I pray for her that she will find somebody wonderful, or if not, that she learns to love herself enough to be good
To
with
be
her.
alone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that either. A lot of strong women are alone. I think the other thing that I loved the most was the birthday parties. I just love the fact that on the episode 19, everybody came together for Bentley's birthday. They made his birthday special. So where, Ryan and Jen and all of these people were not together before and they were fighting, and oh my God, it was really hard on the entire family. It seemed like everybody put down all the weapons and came together.
Literally. Because there were
How
there
did
were
we?
death threats at one point, I think,
Oh yeah, death
in the
threats,
relationship.
divorce
Yeah.
threats, breakups all over the family. Yes, it was a mess. And all of these people, believe me, are good people. And I love all of these people. And I've never, ever, in all the time we've spent together, in all the dressing rooms and all the makeup rooms, I have never seen any of these people misbehave, be rude or mean or unkind. They always treated me very nicely. We had great conversations and we shared things that other people could never share because of the things we were going through. As far as the camera goes, the camera doesn't lie. It does get tweaked every now and then.
Things come up in the edit.
They do. Oh, wow. It's out in the edit some way, somehow. I do want to talk about something that came up where Tyler and Caitlin were really upset with Brandon and Teresa Davis, who adopted Carly. And when Carly was just a little tiny baby, I think she was only a month old or 2 months old, I was holding her. And that baby felt so special. There's just something beautiful and special about Carly.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I know that Brandon and Teresa are very good parents and they love Carly. They've given her the best that she could ever hope for, and that's a good life with peace. Peace and security and happiness and love. And I just don't believe they mean any harm to Caitlin or Tyler. When they asked for space, it could be too that they are actually listening to Carly and her feelings. I would just ask Caitlin and Tyler to sit down and take an extra look at Leah's footage, where Leah is talking about how what Amber did made her feel, how she has abandonment issues now. And this was on last night's episode. And I think Leah so encapsulated what all of that screaming and fighting and beating did, and abandonment, just leaving her alone for hours on end and ignoring her basically.
I mean, the adoptive parents are in a really precarious situation. You know, they are Carly's parents, but on TV, they are identified as the adoptive parents, and there are these other two who are kind of portrayed as, you know, long suffering because they made this decision. And even though it was the best decision
Yes,
for Carly, they're
yes,
still kind of, in a way, and this, I don't think this is intentional, but it's just like they're identified as like her real parents, you know what I mean? And
yeah,
so that has to be really hard for her
yes,
adoptive parents because they are, you know, they are her parents. And it would be really confusing for their daughter to see that and see these two people who, you know, are suffering because they can't be with her or because they made this decision. If I was if I was that girl, it would really twist my mind, you know, it really would be very confusing,
yes.
you know, on how to feel about the whole situation. So I totally understand why they kind of cut off everything until she's an adult, because how do you really deal with that? You know, I don't know that, has there ever been an open adoption that's been showed on TV before like this? I don't think,
My knowledge of it is probably close to zero. I think MTV has done kind of breakthrough coverage of this.
yeah, I agree.
I am totally impressed with Brandon and Teresa coming forward and allowing as much access as they have. And I feel that there's been some excellent visitations that's been covered. However, when you get to 16 years old, you're going through enough just trying to be transitioning into an adult. Your body's changing, your hormones are flexing, everything's happening, right? And you're trying to decide who you are and what you want to be and where you're going. And the complexity of feeling alone or abandoned or whatever goes on has to be dealt with so that you're strong enough to go back and have a visitation and see the children that are kept over there, what's happening. But they have a whole different life right now than when Carly was put up for adoption, and that was not easy. And I commended the bravery of Caitlin and Tyler. They made the right decision, but sometimes the right decision is the hardest decision, and you have to be the bravest human beings on the planet. Give it another 4 or 5 years, and when she is an adult, Carly has full access for the rest of her life to her parents and her birth parents. She can do whatever she wants then. But I think this is a grace period where Brandon and Teresa, because they live with her, they know her, and she talks to them intimately. She's not afraid to communicate. I think they are giving her a timeout that she needs right now.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, they would have to do that because it's, you know, she needs time to develop her own, you know, personality and you know, I guess, sort of think about how she actually feels about the whole situation.
Yeah. And what she's going to do with it, right?
Hmm.
And let's face it, if we think about ourselves when we were young, we didn't make any snap decisions. We were trying to figure things out. And I don't really think I fully figured anything out until I was about 20, 21, maybe 22.
I don't
And
think I figured out everything.
hell, I'm still working on it.
I know.
I feel for everybody here. I got to tell you, when I met Brandon and Teresa, they were just genuine, down to earth, beautiful people. And they were so grateful to have Carly. It was like it was like they won $200 million or something. It was just like, this is what we've always wanted, you know? And I walked away from that feeling like Carly just had a great option there and she was going to be great for it.
Yeah, and she's being protected.
And they're giving her space to be a person. And that's what's really important. That's what everybody needs, right?
Yeah, space to grow up.
So the other thing they covered last night was Caitlin and Tyler taking Raya's first day at preschool, you know, dropping her off at preschool. And she goes twice a week. Here's Tyler crying because he has to hand off Raya to go to school. Raya's happy, she's good, and you know, Caitlin's happy, and Caitlin was like, well, I'm thinking now maybe I'll just sign her up for 3 days a week, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. And Tyler's like, why would you do that? So Caitlin's like, well, because it's time. I mean, you know, right?
Yeah.
And then we won't have any babies at home. So immediately Tyler's like, oh my gosh, you don't want to do that, you know? And he goes, well, maybe we'll have another child. And so she's like, okay. And he's like, oh, you're just saying that. And she goes, no, I like okay with that. So I don't know if they're going to have another child or not.
How many kids do they have now?
They have three daughters that live with them, and then Carly,
Mhm.
so that's four. So if they had one
Or,
more, it'd be five. But
um,
Tyler's always wanted a boy. Surrounded by a bevy of beautiful women. What more could you?
I know. It's not a bad life, right?
And they all tell him what to do because they think he needs that.